Welcome back, partners, to this episode of the Out for Lunch podcast. I'm your host, grifyn.mcerlean. It has been a while since our last episode, but as I'm sure you know, SAP Sapphire is just around the corner, so it's been busy to say the least. During this episode of the Adoption Series, SAP partner Amista joins the diner to discuss Business Technology Platform, specifically architectural design, how to build a powerful BTP team, how to build strong skills in a consultant, and how to drive the most out of this platform to help customers achieve their goals. So enjoy.
All right, welcome everybody to a new episode from this podcast. Today we've got Jan de Raad with us. He's from Amista, a partner that does a lot and is a long time an SAP partner, especially known for their BTP expertise. So we're probably going to touch on the BTP topic quite a bit. So welcome, Jan, and obviously Hans, you welcome as well. Jan, we always start this podcast with a famous question. It's an Out to Lunch podcast, so we want to break the ice by asking what you had for lunch, actually.
Good question, and thanks for having me, Yip. I had a sandwich for lunch, actually. So a French baguette with some cheese and ham and some vegetables on that.
So I know the Belgium market a little bit because I'm from the Netherlands. Is it called a smoske?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A smoske.
All right. Cool. Hey, thanks again for joining us. As I said in the short introduction, you guys are experts in the BTP field, right? You just told me in the prep talk before we hit the record button that you've been through pretty much all the changes and the developments on the BTP platform from day one, pretty much, right? There's two questions I have on that. Like, how did you, what was your experience going, seeing BTP being developed to what it is today? And secondly, you guys are well known for doing the architectural design, especially with BTP as a component, very well. And I want to dive into that topic a bit. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the importance of this architectural design, why it's so important, and what makes a good design. So a little bit your thoughts on that would be great.
Sure. Well, we have experience with the platform since it was founded by SAP, and we went through the whole roller coaster, I would say, of the platform, with the certainly ups, but also sometimes little downs and some stability issues in the early days of the platform, long time back. So our experience is super positive because we see all the potential that this platform brings, and we see that it solves a lot of the issues, or it can solve a lot of the issues that our customers are having. If you look at the strategy behind the platform, it's really to have a platform next to your SAP instance where you can do all your custom extensions, you can integrate it with either SAP solutions or non-SAP solutions, and all of that extension work goes outside of your core ERP system. And that is really what we try to do day in, day out at our customers, and also to advise them through this journey, because it's a bit of a mindset change actually for the customers. You need to really understand how the platform works and then make a decision between, for all your new developments, where will I do those developments, which tools will I use for this development, and which is the right technology to do this development in the future. So from the architecture side, we have a team in place that has a very broad knowledge. So a lot of expertise in SAP on-premise systems, SAP cloud systems, but then also all the digital technologies that we use today, because we build a lot of mobile solutions, web-based solutions on top of SAP. So you really need a diverse skill set to execute these architecture diagrams.
Where do you typically start? Like, if you guys are often flown in also by some of the other partners, right, to do the architectural design, especially again with BTP being component. Like, what's the magic sauce that you guys use? Why are you so good at this? What are some of the steps that you take to make this journey successful?
I think a lot starts with the team we have, and we have really built up a diverse team that has understanding of all these different components that come into play. And then you need architecture people that really dive into the needs of the customers and listen really carefully. So it always starts with listening carefully to what are the needs of the customer, and also trying to adapt to their situation, because not every customer is the same. They might already have some in-house skills which you want to reuse, and then you bring all those pieces together and you build an architecture that takes the best of both worlds, let's say. So the best of the SAP solution, but also makes optimal use of their existing systems, their existing team, their existing skill set, and you try to bring all those pieces together and work out an architecture that fits really well for them.
Quite interesting. I would like to pick on one thing, Peter, and you said it's a mind shift, right, or mindset change for the customer. Whereas in the on-premise world, we saw a lot of the customers really trying to do the extensibility in the application. How do you drive this mind shift, and what do you see as the compelling thing to get customers convinced to do the move and get things side by side and taking the extensibility out of the core? Where do you see the big benefits?
I think a use case that is often used is of course a lot of customers that are migrating to S4HANA or have migrated to S4HANA, and they have seen what kind of a complexity this can bring. If you add a lot of complexity on your ERP system and then you want to do some major upgrades to a whole new version of this ERP platform, that brings a lot of complexity. And I think that's one of the key elements that we often use in our discussion is to prevent this from happening in the future, and try to really adapt and use those whitelisted integration points that SAP provides, and make sure that you make a clear distinction between what is my core ERP, what is my custom functionality that I want to add. It's also about training the customer, because the customers might know what BTP is, but they might not know what all the possibilities are or what the strengths are of the platform. So a whole part is also education, where we train the customers on the platform. We explain them the platform, from the technical components to the licensing to how everything works in the platform. So it's a really broad exercise that we do with our customers.
And you do that both before and after sort of the go live, I assume, before, because you want to convince them that this is the right move, but you guys probably are also very active after, right? To make sure that once it hits live, that you get it running smoothly, right?
Yeah, exactly. Running smoothly, but also governance of the platform, because that's something that we often see is also forgotten on BTP, because customers are used to having a good governance in place for their NetWeaver-based systems. But then when you come to BTP, you manage your code in a different way, you manage your transports in a different way, you might do the user management a bit different, the authorizations and the role management a bit different. So it's about managing the platform as a whole as well. And managing the platform is easy if you have one application on it, but if you have thousands of integrations, hundreds of applications running on it, then yeah, you need a real good governance structure to make sure that you keep this platform stable.
Cool. When you think about this in this mind shift, sorry, but when you go into this, right, and move into this, do you see there always a natural starting point for the extensibility? Because you said at the beginning, right, mobile is a big place. Is it a typical starting point to have more user interfaces, different being in a mobile-centric application? How do you see customers moving into it? So, like, is it about bringing together different processes in the architecture? I'd be curious to see a little bit how you take this with the customers. I like the point you made on listening to the customer. So I think there's likely a common pattern you observe in it.
I think there's two types of customers, the ones that have already migrated to S4HANA and the ones who have not yet migrated to S4HANA. And I think for both, the story of BTP is a bit different. I think especially for customers who have not migrated to S4HANA yet, BTP is really the platform that allows you to already use some of the innovations, new user experience, automations, and so on, without having already made that migration to S4HANA. So I think in a lot of the cases where we come in with BTP at SAP ECC customers, it's mostly around these kind of use cases where we already start using plenty of Fiori applications, building interfaces with third-party systems, automations with robotic process automation or SAP builds, and those kind of scenarios. For customers who have already migrated to S/4HANA, then it becomes more of a strategic platform for extensions. And there, a lot of our work is helping them make decision matrices, when to implement solutions on the S4 stack, when to extend on the BTP platform. And that becomes a really big discussion point for those kind of customers.
So one of the things that I sort of hear in this discussion, right, is that if you guys are very specialized in the BTP area, obviously, and I hear that you're putting a lot of the credit to your team. You're saying it's the team in place, right, and they do this and they do that, like they're covering all grounds. How do you, if I'm a new partner and I'm experienced in S4, but I don't have yet the BTP skills in-house, apart from hiring you guys as sort of a subcontractor or as a second partner, what are some of the first steps that I need to take in order to sort of get on the journey that you guys went on? Because where do I start? Because there's technical, there's convincing the customer, which is more of the commercial consultancy, there's services like post go live and so on. So it's a broad spectrum that you guys are covering. But what are some of the first steps to build a great team, such as the team that you described?
I think what is really important is to create a diverse team. We have a team that on one hand is really knowledgeable in all the ABAP developments and is really the experts in the field of the NetWeaver, because that stays very important and it stays crucial. There's a lot of discussion about, is this still relevant today? Yes or no? For me, that's very clear. I mean, it will always stay relevant. So we need that backbone of solid ABAP developers that understand how an SAP on-premise system works. But then you need to extend that with specialist skills. So we have some developers that are more from the web development backgrounds, where they have, for example, a lot of JavaScript experience, Node.js experience, Java experience. We even have some developers who have Python experience, because that comes into play when you use machine learning, for example. Often that's also a possibility of the platform. And then we also have our integration team, that is really focusing more on CPI, Cloud Platform Integration Services, and the integration suite and all the services around that. So you really need to build a team that has special niche skills and try to convince everybody that they need to be best at what they do best, and not try to have a team where everybody knows everything, because then you don't have any expertise in-house. So we really try to divide our team and to make sure that we have specialist skills in all those areas. Especially if you think about mobile, for example, then your developers might need to learn Android development or iOS development, and all those things are really a specialist skill.
Yeah, and not something that you can learn from one day till the other, right? So it's really a journey. And did you take some of your people on a journey to learn? I mean, you always learn, but did you take some of your, let's say, normal tech consultants and taught them the skill by putting them through learning, or did you actually hire that from external, or is it probably a mix of both?
It's a mix of both. So we of course hire people from other partners who are looking for a career move. So that's one area where we are getting new consultants. But we train a lot of those consultants ourselves as well. So we have some collaborations with universities and high schools close to our offices, where we give colleges in their high schools, so we can already train those people. We have a lot of internships in our company. We also use BTP ourselves as a company. So all our planning and timesheet based stuff is stuff we have built on BTP ourselves. So that's a good learning school, let's say, for our new consultants that come in. They can train on our own tools, on our own software. And we use the platform really in the company ourselves as well. And then, yeah, from the learning aspect and keeping up to date, we use multiple things. We use the SAP Learning Hub. We use SAP certifications for people. We participate a lot in conferences, either SAP conference or also general conferences around web development, around mobile development, around RPA and automations, and so on. So it's also staying current that is very important, because this is an industry that moves very, very quickly.
Cool. Good to hear.
Maybe one additional one on top, right? We talked now a lot about the technical skills you need to have and how broad they are and how deep. But I think there's also an element how to combine technology with business process, right? And I think when you said it's sometimes you do it still on the on-premise stack, on the ABAP stack. Sometimes you move there. What is the mix between the technical capability to drive the decision versus the business process that you want to improve, right? Knowing that obviously in the technology, you also have all the smart technologies you were referring to that can be an accelerator using automation, using RPA. But if you think through this in terms of balancing technology decision versus business process decision, where do you see the line?
I think it's really both that are super crucial. Business process stays priority number one because that's what drives the business. So that stays priority number one. But IT needs to follow that process basically, and IT needs to ensure that the process is implemented in the most optimal way. So for me, it's a combination of both for sure. That's also why a lot of our training is not only focused on the technical team of our customers, but we also involve functional experts within their domain so that they also understand what the technical team is going through with this migration and this transformation.
Cool. All right. Hey, we've been talking for quite a bit already, and we tried to keep the format as a lunch conversation. So we need to finish up our plates and pay the check and go back to work, so to speak. But we always want to end with a famous question, right? So that question is, if you were able to have lunch with anybody, somebody who inspired you when you were young or currently somebody who's still with us, or maybe from the far past who's no longer with us, who would you have lunch with in an ideal world?
That's a really good question.
And it can be everybody or anybody, right? Even if you say Michael Jackson, I don't care. But
I think Steve Jobs would be a really interesting person to have lunch with. I mean, you see what he did to IT technology and how the iPhone really dramatically changed how people use technology these days. I think it would definitely be a very interesting lunch.
Yeah, he's quite one of the favorites that is mentioned quite a bit, right? And rightfully so. He did change a lot of the things that we see people doing with technology these days in daily life. So excellent choice, I would say. Cool. Hey, with that, I need to thank you for your insights and your wisdom and for being with us today. I feel that there's a lot more to unpack, so potentially we could tap into your brains once more in the future and see if we can continue the story and do another lunch together someday.
For sure. And thank you for having me again.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, partners, for tuning in to this week's episode of the Out for Lunch podcast. And a big thank you to Peter Jan for joining us. For more information about partner Amista, or to leave us a review if you like the episode, please see the description of the episode or leave us a rating on the platform that you're listening on. Have a great day. And as always, stay hungry for more information.